Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining Worth in our next normal series. My name is Paul Stamoulis, Executive Officer of Worth Media, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's program, where each week, as you know, we delve into a different sector. We understand the business impact, but also how consumers and businesses themselves are transforming and adapting to the future. We are fortunate to have such an engaged community and grateful you could all join us here today. We hope you are staying safe and healthy. Before we begin the program, just a few housekeeping items. First, attendees are muted on entry. We ask that you do so just to confirm that you're on mute now to avoid any audio or tech issues. Second is this is a conversation, so we very much welcome your questions. By this point, you know how it works. You get on the chat function, you email everybody, and if you'd rather have us present a question rather than turn to you directly, just add an asterisk, and we will try to get to as many questions as we can. This is session 21 in our next normal series and addresses the all-important topic of staying safe. And whether it's our families, our businesses, our assets, staying safe and secure amidst this period of upheaval is of increasing concern to us all. But fortunately, we have assembled a wonderful set of guests to help us understand all this. I am pleased to welcome Ashley Hunter. Ashley is founder, managing director for HM Risk Group, a global insurance firm and risk management firm. Ashley, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We have Dale Brooks. Dale is the director of Hawque Protection Group, a security services firm that counts among their clients many high-profile individuals, but also serves businesses alike. Dale, how are you doing today?
Doing great in soggy Atlanta today.
Oh, that's right, with the big storm coming through. That's right.
Exactly.
And just to make it fun, we've added another Dale, and I tried to go DB, and that didn't even work. So Dale Buckner, co-founder and CEO of Global Guardian. Global Guardian is a large and growing company providing a full suite of security services to businesses and individuals alike. Dale, are you there? How are you?
I'm great, Paul. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Terrific. And thanks for joining us. And most importantly, Kathleen Entwistle. Kathy's a managing director with Morgan Stanley, but a value partner in the Next Normal series, a leader in the private wealth space and risk advisory management space. Kathy, can you hear me? I can't quite see you.
I can hear you. You can't see me.
There you are. You just popped up. Great to see you, Kathy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Terrific. And moderating today's conversation is Jim McCann. And Jim's actually an expert in his own right. He served as chairman of a major global insurance company and is the current member of the board of trustees of John Jay College here in New York. Jim, I'd call you a partner in crime, but I think with this guest, we'll probably want to stay away from that kind of thing.
Yeah, there could be handcuffs involved. I'd suggest we change the vocabulary. And instead of calling me Jim, just for today's purposes, call me Dale.
Exactly right. Why not? But I'm grateful we could all join. And with that, let me turn it over to Jim to kick us off here in the conversation.
Well, I think it's a very interesting time. And as you said in the beginning, Paul, it's a conversation. So let's keep it quite conversational. Is an attempt to get the most out of these very valuable guests that you've assembled today. But the question of the day has to be, I think if we polled our talented panel here, guests, that everyone would say there's more risk here, there's more risk there, there's more risk everywhere. In this COVID, post-COVID world, hopefully soon post-COVID world, how has your business changed? Let's start with Ashley. I know you come at it from an insurance perspective, insurance, reinsurance, and risk mitigation. How has this whole COVID experience, which is global and simultaneously, impacted how you serve or think about serving your clients?
Well, I mean, obviously in the insurance business, we do a lot of hand-holding, a lot of touching, a lot of meeting. So it's forced us, the insurance industry to become more friendly when it comes to tech and utilizing our technology, probably in ways that we wouldn't have done it in the past. And yeah, I'm not traveling as much. I mean, I was spending 200 nights a year on a plane meeting with clients, and now I'm spending hours on Zoom calls with brokers in London and brokers in, Asia. So I think it's just kind of forced us. I mean, I'm sure, Jim, we used to like to walk around with stacks of paper, and we no longer are able to walk around with stacks of paper and meet underwriters, at Lloyd's. So we've just, we've become much more dependent on technology.
I hear Lloyd's opened, I think last week, but nobody's there. It changes how you do business, certainly. What about the underlying business itself, Ashley? What new risk are you helping your clients mitigate?
Yeah, so I think the majority of the risk that we're actually trying to mitigate now is identity theft. We've had a lot of businesses, quite honestly, they did not have their IT security protocols in place, and the ones that thought that they did, they have now subsequently realized that it's actually very easy to penetrate their business. We've had lots of claims come in where employees have, clicked on a link, and now there's malware, and now it's sending out, lots of different emails to insureds or to clients that they should not be receiving. And so, yeah, a lot of our issues now are just having remote workers and having them understand that not every email that you are going to receive from here on out is actually a legitimate email. So, it's giving the cyber industry a bit of a heartache because now these policies are being tested. And hospitality, quite honestly, has also been a pain point for us when it comes to cyber, due to COVID and, restaurants having to rely on third parties to process payments and food orders. And, so we have a lot of interesting issues that are coming up, claims that are coming up, and it's going to actually just have us reevaluate how we're covering these risks. Because a lot of times no one thought about it. And now we've had to think about it. And now that all the claims are coming in, having to reevaluate, exclusions and broad coverage options, and quite honestly, premiums.
Yeah, obviously there's a firming of the market that's been anticipated now for about 15 years, and it took COVID for it to get here. Dale Buckner, it seems to me when you're working with a business like a client of Ashley's, it has to be now that in this post-COVID world, that the more people you have, the more risk you have. So you have people-intense businesses, you have health risk, you have access, security risk. As the formula changed, Dale, that the people-intensive businesses are harder to work with, they have more risk?
I don't know that they're necessarily harder to work with. I think obviously the amount of change, and the simple example I can give you is, I think the criteria, Ashley just said, she was on the road 200 days a year. I think firms that are people intensive are going to and have dramatically changed how they view travel, what is considered key and essential travel, and what you would consider key and essential personnel to be posted around the world. I think that technology
and that lens has changed, no?
It has. It's absolutely changed dramatically, where we're telling our clients right now in the Fortune 500, your definition of two things. Do you need to meet in person is based on one word, trust. If you have a multi-million-dollar investment or a multi-million-dollar acquisition where relationships matter, you can't get it done through emails, red lines, and this VTC. There's an element of human-to-human trust that has to be established. Then yes, we're going to do everything we can to get you on the ground if legally authorized to execute that transaction. But the second part of that is I also think people are going to relook for the long term, who really needs to be inside a brick and mortar business forever.
Yep.
My business, I don't think I'll ever see my account staff again. I don't think I'm going to see my HR staff again. I think they're gone forever to work from home forever.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I think a lot of firms are going through this.
Yep.
So as you go through this, I think you're going to see a titanic shift in travel, because I think we're going to ask the question, Do I really need to put people on the road and expose them in Nigeria and expose them to certain things in high-risk countries? And I think we're going to find the answer is we don't need to at the pace we were doing that. And I think we're going to relook who truly needs to be able to function in a brick and mortar office. And we're going to find lots of people don't physically need to be there to be effective in their job at the company headquarters.
Mm-hmm. And Dale Brooks, I know you have a background as a frontline fighter of fires in your earliest part of your career, and a long and distinguished career at Homeland Security. Obviously, Homeland Security is visible to us as a public, especially traveling public, at airports at all. How long do you think it'll take? It sounds like Dale Buckner is saying that the travel will increase, but a long time before we see travel levels like we saw before, maybe never. How does that impact how you think about working with your clients today? And how does that change the risk profile that you're looking to mitigate on behalf of your clients?
Well, one of the things we've had to take on was we had to become, in providing safe and secure environments, whether those that still are traveling or whether you still have to open your doors on a full or limited basis at your brick and mortar type of business, we've had to take the lead on the COVID safety, provide a safe and secure environment, including COVID regulations and ensuring a clean atmosphere.
I mean, you got into the supply business in terms of PPE, et cetera, on behalf of your clients.
Oh, absolutely. And then that also, we've been required to step up and use technology to do it more efficiently to ensure that the proper precautions are getting taken care of, not only the safety and other risks that are still out there and increasing by the week. However, just ensuring that the environments are properly cleaned, they're sanitized, they're using the proper equipment, that this is actually tied into technology that we can track, that they're using proper foggers or ultraviolet or they're doing proper temperature checks. And these have been registered for those that still have to go ahead and go into the marketplace and the workplace on a regular basis. So we've become the expert. We've had to become the expert in the security industry. How can we do this and do this well, where we give a peace of mind to our clients, then also those customers they have coming in, that we're going to do everything we can to keep them safe and secure in this new world of COVID, which, as Dale alluded to, this isn't going away anytime soon. We're still going to be dealing with this for some time to come. We're still unsure what those ripples will be like going into the next year, but these precautions and this technology we're using, it's here to stay for a while.
Well, that leads me to this question, and Kathy Entwistle, I'll ask you to jump in here, but I was foolish enough to make a prediction yesterday before we convened this august panel here, and that is, someone asked me, how long does this last? And I said, well, this is to be defined. And I said, but I would guess that a year from now, so Labor Day in 2021, we're essentially looking at this in the rearview mirror. We will have had hopefully some vaccines introduced and distributed. Our treatment methodology will have continued to evolve. There was a very big discovery last week in Scandinavia where they used a supercomputer to map out the production of an enzyme that was causing high blood pressure, which was causing the blood clotting in the lungs and the brain bleeds. If that bears out in the scientific laboratories, that is the problem and it can be treated, that'll really advance our treatment methodologies. And plus, we just adjust as people. 6 months ago, Dale, Ashley, Kathy, Paul, my fears were primal. 6 months ago, I was worried about, will I get sick? Will I, if anyone in my family gets sick, will I be able to get them access to medical care? Will we have food? Will there be social unrest? Now, there was social unrest, but for different reasons. So in the very beginning, it was primal, and now we've evolved, we've adjusted. It's, those of us can work remotely are doing it. We didn't think we could do it, but we're doing it. So we're evolving. So how wrong am I? And the other side of that is the new normal, as Juliet from work calls it all the time, the next normal. It's going to be, Dale, as you said, some of these things are with us forever. So parse that out. How do we feel a year from now, and what things that are still new to us are become part of our everyday lives? Kathy, from your point of view, how wrong am I?
I think that I'm going to go with, I think it was Dale Buckner that said it's, changed almost forever in a sense. I actually believe that. I think human behavior, even when we look at finance, we think about behavioral finance too. We're being trained to be separated. We're being trained to not go back to the office. And it only takes a few, what does it take? 40 days to break a habit or make a habit? I mean, this is months and months and months that this is happening. So I don't think that we're going to be back to what we were used to. And we have to get more accustomed to adjusting with the way we are. And it's unfortunate because part of, I think, the joy of our every day-to-day life is human interaction. And we're starting to eliminate that a little bit because of COVID. And I'm sure there'll be other things that come in the future. And our three guests today, are very well versed in, I would have to imagine, technology and safety and risk and different ways to, prep for that. I think that all of this has, changed the world drastically, digital transformation. I had one of my clients, has been a client since 2004. She called me on Monday and we had a really nice conversation. And then she said to me, by the way, I am moving to like a condo, and there's an HOA, and what they want to do is they want to put security cameras on the property, and they want to use my Wi-Fi for the security camera on my garage. And they promised me that the only person who will have access to my Wi-Fi password will be the board secretary. And what do you think of this? I mean, this is a very, very intelligent person, but there is a group of people out there that think that they can utilize.
I think I see Dale and Dale rolling their eyes already.
Yes. Yes. So I'd love to be able to go back to that client and say, I spoke to the experts and this is what they say. But I mean, these are real life issues and questions. People are worried, it used to be worried that you'd send your child overseas for, education. And
A year abroad.
yeah, and then you don't know what you're worried about their safety. So there's the physical security, there's the digital security,
And you've long been concerned with the financial risk and security.
Financial risk, absolutely, absolutely. In terms of somebody taking your identity, creating accounts under your name, or moving assets that should not be moved.
And just to pick up on that, if I could, Jim, one of the things in sort of researching today is there's a great distraction happening. And by that, I mean that people are focused on their employees and co-location and all these other factors, which is creating the opportunity for some to come in a cyber way and capture on the vulnerabilities. And I think there's something about it, Kathy, that we see and feel about how much more we've been online. I'm just curious, maybe starting with you, Kathy, from your perspective, are people just feeling more vulnerable about, wait, where is my account? Where is, who does that?
Absolutely. And I think a perfect example too is, as you and Jim know, I moved firms this year. So I moved all of my clients from one firm to another. And there was more unrest about the move for clients. Like, how come it's taking 10 days for my assets to get from this firm to that firm? Where is that? And there was a lot of concern, and I think would be normal concern, but I think normally they would be okay because they know we're in the process and we're crossing T's and dotting I's. But I also think COVID's created a lot of disruption. And one of them is that whole sort of traumatized feeling that I think a lot of us have experienced. And next year, I think we'll look back at this and realize how traumatized we were. But that perfect example is something that agitated you before is going to agitate you that much greater under these circumstances when things are not the way you're used to or comfortable. So you've got that. And then I'd say too, I would be interested in hearing what everyone else has to say, but the other risk that I see is, going back to work, it's not just I'm risking my health, but as an employer, I'm risking a lawsuit, I would think too, right? So there's all these different risks that have to be considered with
Let's
COVID
follow
and
up on
with
that
work.
point, Kathy, as an employer. Dale, Ashley, Dale, are you advising your clients to say, you have to come back to work, leave it optional? I'm hearing a lot of chatter about the plaintiff's bar getting ready for a field day here. How, Dale Brooks, how are you advising your clients?
Well, that's their own level of comfort. Some of the businesses just require that human interaction, the teams to be in the same logistic location for various reasons if they have to be. By far, we are seeing more remote working. As Dale said, that for the foreseeable or forever, that part of his team will be there. There are certain entities that have to come in. And what we are seeing with that is that we're starting to see a little bit of pushback, that they've gotten used to working at home and now they're expected to come in. So that raises a whole nother level of risk and concerns with possible insider threats and other things, because they're starting to give pushback for just not wanting to be in the work environment. There's some with legitimate fear, and some have just gotten used to working from home in that environment and do not wish to return to work just simply because they favor being at home, which we can all understand that. So we're starting to deal with looking at pathways to insider threats and who could exploit inside information, because they're getting disgruntled because they actually have to be in the workplace when they see the rest of the world that is working from home. So this is a whole level, another level of security we're starting to see and working with clients on that insider threat about manipulating intellectual or proprietary information that they can get a hold of. A simple company directory put out to the masses could be devastating. So we're starting to work with how to look when you know what you're looking for. It's pretty easy to see, but unfortunately most businesses don't know what they're looking for or what rocks to start looking under, if that makes sense. So I think that ties into your question a little bit, what we're seeing.
Well, I'll come back to Dale Buckner on that. The point that Ashley made a few minutes ago about people clicking on things they shouldn't. I read in the last 24 hours, who knows where, I have source amnesia now, that the number, all of you folks do tests with your company's publics all the time about clicking on bad email. And I understand that pre this period, let's call it 7 months ago, average fail rate was in the 10% range. And this month, the average fail rate with everyone at home, maybe relaxing their standards a bit, is up to 38%. How big a threat is that? And what are you seeing in that realm, Dale Buckner?
Yeah. So number one, we have seen over a 220% increase in cyber cases with our client base.
Wow.
It is nonstop. It is every day. And just for those reasons, if you think about this, if you have a chief information security officer that's focused on IT and cyber for the enterprise, the company as a whole, that bubble over the company is quite well run. And at this point, most Fortune 500 companies are quite sophisticated. Now, the question is, when you send a majority of your workforce home, here's the problem you have. They're no longer under that umbrella in the way they were previously. No one is testing everyone's home, the router, the Wi-Fi. Nobody knows, does the Wi-Fi go to the road? Does it go to the apartment above me, below me, the right or left? There's all these wonderful new access points for hackers. And if you don't have a VPN for every phone and every laptop that's out and how they connect back into the enterprise, the company,
you're exposed.
You're massively exposed. So this is, as we look at this.
Dale, you scared me one time when you told me if I was walking around and I left Bluetooth on my phone, I was pretty much left the door open.
Yeah, Bluetooth can go 2.5 miles out, Jim. So people walk around because of convenience. They walk around with their Wi-Fi on, their Bluetooth on, Google, Bing, track every search they do. They don't have their phone. This thing right here is giving your life access to everybody. So as you think about this, the CISO is focused on the enterprise. What he's not focused on is the end user in the same way he was on the enterprise. So the end user could be your third tier accountant who is wide open at home. How they connect back into the company is completely exposed. We're doing this at scale with literally millions of people, and there are cracks everywhere. So it is a cyber hacker's smorgasbord of attempts, both at the local level and at the global scale, to go after people. Hence, 220+% increase in cyber cases.
So Dale, both Dales, who are the bad guys? They're not just sitting in some basement in Romania, are they?
No. So I'll answer real quick, Dale Brooks. I'll pass off very quickly. There's really two levels of hacker, if you will, maybe three. Number one is the nation state. It's what you hear in the news constantly. It's the Russians, comes out of North Korea, it comes out of Pakistan, China, so on and so forth. Nation state sponsored hacking organizations are real, but typically they are not looking at individuals, if you will. They're looking for nation state secrets and so on and so forth, and or disruption at the nation state level. The next level down is your criminal enterprise, the mafia, drug cartels, and then just professional hackers. This is my simplest analogy. If I'm a cartel or I'm in the mafia, I can literally outsource all of my hacking activities to hacking groups that I can find in the dark web. I can literally outsource this to run a cyber ransom business for me. And then I, as the mafia or cartel, can run the physical side. So all of this is evolving very quickly. And it's not just nation states, it's all, and most of this has become incredibly sophisticated because it's incredibly profitable. If I'm a small hacker group that's been outsourced, and sometimes I work for the Russian government, sometimes I work for the mafia out of Japan, if I have 8 cases going on all at the same time where I've penetrated a high net worth family or a business, and now I'm extorting them, and I'm running this and I have 8 to 10 of these at the same time, I am profiting very quickly every 48 hours. I am running this business, and it is a business. This is a business. Is it a revenue stream to these organizations? I'll pause there.
Wow.
Sounds like a terrible merger of two
Yeah.
awful.
Paul, you had a situation up near where you live in Connecticut with the opening of school, where a whole school system had to postpone the opening because they had a ransomware situation they couldn't resolve. Dale, these ransomware, is that as Dale Brooks, is this ransomware situation as prolific as it seems to be, and is it very profitable?
Oh, absolutely. We see entire city governments that are locked up, where they take over the email, they take over financials, they take over critical infrastructure from billing, where a city can't collect simple taxes and things that are due on a regular basis, and paralyzes and cripples the city. And these can be simply just for one open port that nobody even realized was back there.
Can it be a one-man shop running this?
We are, and that was my next point. We're talking pretty high level about large enterprise criminals. Also, don't discount your local criminals. We're seeing much more sophistication. And you said, who are we looking for here? Well, unfortunately, we're also looking at the person who's delivering your dinner to you at night.
Yes, yes.
For one of your delivery services. We're looking at
I always suspected that guy.
Yeah, exactly. So, doing risk management, I'm sure Dale can talk to this point too. Everybody's expecting when we first step on a property doing a security threat risk assessment, that they're looking for the big things. They're looking for the high security locks, the cameras, things. Typically, first thing I do simply with my iPhone, I'll walk up and I ping their Wi-Fi and I tell them, your name is this, you've used your pet's name, you've used this. And our criminals are becoming much more sophisticated. Your pizza delivery man has much more sophistication than you would imagine they're out there. So unfortunately, there are threats everywhere, even close to home. Those that actually can just drive up and down the street and look for an open Wi-Fi, or everything is getting tied into the Wi-Fi these days on open networks. So your threats are everywhere.
Well, okay, I'm getting hives here. Ashley, how does HM Risk Group possibly help a client to understand the scope of the risk they're confronting, and how do you audit for it? How do you remediate? And then how do you insure?
Right. So thank goodness there are the Dales in the world that actually help us, because that makes our job easier, right? I'm an insurance underwriter. So from the insurance aspect, I know how to underwrite the risk based on.
Do you? How do you know how to do that? I mean, it seems like you can't even define the risk.
Well, I think it just depends on the line of business, right? So let's take, for instance, directors and officers. You have employees that want to go back to the office. At this point, we are actually effectively saying, as an underwriter, we're going to charge a premium on top of that premium if you decide that you want to allow employees back into the office, because we're not sure what the implications are going to, come from that, as far as like workers' comp or, emotional distress, or, I mean, like you mentioned earlier, plaintiffs, attorneys kind of out there and lurking around. So we're
lurking. How do you feel?
Well, I mean, I have lots of friends that are attorneys. But we're taking a much, like you said earlier, the market was very soft. We were giving premiums away. We were giving coverage away. And COVID has actually forced us into actually what we would say we're actually underwriting the risk
Again,
right? We're underwriting it. We're explaining the coverages to the insured in a way where they completely understand what is and isn't covered, because a lot of these lawsuits actually spawn out of the fact that they thought it was covered, right? And
yes.
so, and that comes at just a point where it's just like sometimes the buyers buying based on premium, and so you have to re-educate them, saying, you do indeed get what you pay for in the insurance business.
Well, how thick are these contracts now about the insured's definitions?
Yes, hundreds of pages. So it's a good place to start your nap, if this is not what you do every day, it's trying to explain to the insured, it's like, these are the definitions, you need to understand that. And then these are the exclusions. We get a lot of times where we evaluate the policies for the insured and we're like, the exclusion number one is your business. Like, yep. It is actually the business. So it's also having the insured understand that they do need to ask the hard questions from their insured and from the broker and from, because there are a lot of people in this chain, in this process, to get it from, buyer to, where I'm at the end of it, where I'm looking at the application, right? So we are actually now just, I hate to say it, we're re-underwriting, we're re-explaining things, and not to say, we're actually just trying to take it down to the lowest common denominator, where it's like, this exclusion means this, And I think people appreciate that, because everyone, I mean, insurance forms are written by attorneys for attorneys, and underwriters are the only ones that understand it. And the claims people know what's covered and what's not covered, right? So yeah, we're taking a much more active approach. And we are trying to explain to all of the insureds that really you are going to have to reevaluate how you do business, how you bring back your employees in a way that not only protects the employee, the employer, but also, if it's a publicly traded company, the directors and officers, because quite honestly, they are, exposed much more, than probably the employer themselves, because.
Well, I think that you just identified a huge question for us all, Ashley, which is, who do companies, Fortune 500, Fortune 100, mid-market companies, small companies, who do we turn to get advice to answer those questions? Dale and Dale, I assume your phone's ringing off the hook every day with that. Kathy Entwistle, the star of Morgan Stanley, all these families, all these entrepreneurs that you give guidance to and risk mitigation to every day. What are you advising them in terms of cyber risk, cyber insurance? I would assume that some of the family offices you work with are particularly vulnerable to bad guys and mistakes.
Absolutely, yes, Jim. That I would say anyone who has resources, including financial resources, where you'd see the family offices come into play, there's big risks there. And we do partner with companies like Ashley's and Dale's to make sure that we're protecting our clients, or at least providing them with some really good resources to do so. It's
have you developed like a checklist that you go over with your clients to begin the conversation about where are your risks?
Yes, we have checklists for everything. I am a checklist person and my clients know that. We have lots of checklists. So absolutely. And there are, as we said, there's different types of checklists, but for this, it goes from, the simple at home, personal, family, individual, monetary. There's so many different things that need to be checked off. Technology, you know,
Like
all
writing
the
your
tech
passwords down on a
passwords,
pad on your desk.
all of that. And also, how do you provide passwords when something's so locked up and maybe somebody, passes away? Like, what do you do? There's lots of things to think about. I also wanted to mention that, has anyone seen the movie Social Dilemma, which is all about technology, all about the way that technology is being used to infiltrate individuals and businesses? And I think if you watch that movie, I just started watching it over the weekend. It is scary. You will want to take all your apps off your phone. You will want to shut down everything you have. You will want to leave your phone downstairs, nowhere near your bed when you sleep at night. I just think that, technology has made such an accelerated jump in the last few years, and it's like lightning speed now. Do you guys find that? It's like the COVID has accelerated even greater, and it can be used for good and it can be used for bad. And unfortunately, and we all know on this panel, there's a lot of bad. We don't want to think that, but there is a lot of bad out there, and that's what we are insuring against, right? We are trying to insure against the bad, whether it's like with Ashley with insurance vehicles, or if it's with Dale with physically, putting things into place to provide that safety and security for clients.
Well, let's take that question of yours, Kathy, to Dale Brooks and say, Dale, in this acceleration that we've experienced in the last 6 months of so many things, it seems like all of risk, particularly around technology-related risk, have accelerated. What's the biggest new concern that we should have on Kathy's checklist, Dale?
Well, I know from our perspective, when we go in working with successful families in particular, typically the primary in that, they've typically got a lot of their technology and a lot of their things on lockdown. It's hard to get in there. Typically, when I'm going through, I exploit trying to show the vulnerabilities through family members. You mentioned the technology the last 6 months. Those of us with children out there, various ages, the apps, they've been coming fast and furious, and trying to stay on top of all those is something else. Typically, whenever you're trying to build a profile or trying to figure out the easiest point to exploit, it's through one of these open technology, one of these apps, a family member. So that's one of the first things we do. We go in working with successful families and individuals. We start auditing all the devices, all the social media, start seeing what's out there. Because typically I'm finding most of our clients, there's a lot more information out there in the public domain than people realize. And there's there's not a shortage of bad actors and greater sophistication that know how to exploit that. That comes down to just getting it into an app or individual device. So that's one of the biggest things, trying to stay in front of technology and the applications. It's a constant daily grind just to stay up on that. And I'm finding a lot of our policing resources and so forth that we try to partner with, they're losing that battle. So it's really up to a lot of us in the private security to stay up on that technology and really just be forward thinking and paving the way on that. I know Dale's got some other thoughts on that also.
Well, I'm going to turn it a little bit on the other Dale, on Dale Buckner now. Dale, over the last 4 months, we've been horrified at some of the violence and public unrest that we've seen, particularly in cities across the country. How does that change? I know both Dales, you provide help and service to that, but I think of a couple that became infamous in St. Louis outside their quite palatial home, one with an automatic weapon in his hands and her with a pistol in her hands. Their lives have changed forever. I'm sure the families that you work with are asking you about, should I keep weapons in the home? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What kind of security system do I have in the home? How has this changed your world?
Yeah. So number one, there's really 4 things, and I'll finish, Jim, where you started. The combination of COVID, the election season, the social injustice movement, and the economic downturn have led to, right here in the United States, we have more desperate people doing desperate things than ever before. If you look at the downturn in GDP, the number of people laid off, at the end of the day, the people that were at the bottom rung of our society, they've lost those safety nets. the American people as a society, the contract between the government and us as people in a society, and as a country, the contract is being frayed, meaning we don't believe the US government is going to safeguard us in the way we might have thought of 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. What that has led to is both high net worth families and businesses are questioning, if I call 911 and I'm in East St. Louis or St. Louis, where that couple was, are they coming and what are they going to do? If I dial for EMS, are they coming? Is it real? How long would it take? If you look at the international side of things.
That only used to be an international concern.
Exactly. And I will pivot to the international very quickly. In March, when all of us, I think, started to truly wake up to what was truly happening here, and airspace and borders started to close, both firms and families were being stuck because airspace and borders were being shut down globally, sequentially. And as you noticed, how well do all of you think the State Department did in evacuating Americans? It took over 90 days to get this under control. The State Department first announced there's 1,500 Americans stuck. Then they announced 22,000 Americans. Then they announced 50,000 Americans. We ended up evacuating over 3,000 clients out of 31 countries.
No kidding.
And it was because the State Department is not trained, manned, or equipped to get Americans out at scale. If you get arrested, do you want the State Department and the embassy to help you? Yes. If you have a passport problem, you lost it, are they going to help you? Yes. But are they going to evacuate 7,000 Americans out of Peru in a timely manner? And the answer is no. They failed because they're not equipped for this. They're not funded for it. So therefore, you look at this both internally, looking inward at our country, and externally, we have saw failure after failure after failure. So the takeaway is this, and I'll come back to insurance. I don't want to make Ashley, Kathleen upset, but I have a comment on how this gets tied together, insurance. My message.
They get worked up already, Dale.
Oh yeah. My message to all of our business clients and our high net worth families is this, and I don't want to be alarmist. I live in Sterling, Virginia. I haven't seen a protest. If I call 911, they're coming. In those pockets, be very specific here. There are pockets in the United States where this is true. It is not everywhere. I don't want people to leave the briefing thinking that's the case, because I'm not saying that. But if you're in one of those sectors where crime has gone up exponentially, which it has, now the counter to that is crime in this country has come down for 30 straight years. But right now, in pockets of the country, murder is up anywhere between 25 to 125%. Larceny is up. Burglary is up. Car theft is over 250% increase all over the country. This is real and it's tangible. So this is the lesson for all of our clients. The mentality has to be, yes, you have insurance. That cleans up the financial mess. But insurance does not operate in real time. You have to take more of this on as a business or a family to know when someone's kidnapped, someone is injured, someone is assaulted, someone is hacked. In every one of these scenarios, you know what you're going to do. If you don't know who you're going to call when you're injured in the US or abroad, if you don't know how you're going to get out of Guatemala when the border and the airspace is closed, if you don't know who you're going to call if you think your cell phone or your home network is penetrated, then you're behind right now. And that's just the world we now live in. And I'll make one last comment. When I listened to Ashley and Kathleen, my one comment I would tell you is, and Ashley hit on this, the insurance market, God bless you, you're great, need you, but you guys have so many restrictions that people don't understand. They don't read. To your point, you're re-educating your population. Ultimately, insurance is the greatest amplifier of why you need us. We're in the so what business. Somebody gets kidnapped, they get injured, they get assaulted, they get hacked. I'm solving the problem. I don't have restrictions. I am moving in minutes and hours right now to solve the problem. I'm not in the bureaucracy world of seeing if it meets criteria or restriction. You're stuck in Guatemala. I'm going to get you across the border when the airspace is closed, get you on a private jet and fly you to Dallas. There's no hesitation on this side. So yes, you need insurance, overarching all of these things that are involved here, but you have to know who you're going to call in a crunch, however you define that crunch, if you will.
Dale, that was terrific. And Paul, let me turn to you because I see there's so many really good questions coming in here. But I think that what we just heard from Dale and Dale is a takeaway for a series that we need to do for our community here, which is in between today, nothing's happening that we know of, and we have insurance to help us lighten the financial burden of the loss we've had. There is so much to be done in terms of preparedness, planning, desktop exercises, and practice to know what to do when one of these, what we've defined as risk, actually happen to us, our families, or our businesses. And I think that there's a mile-wide river there of answers that we need to prepare our publics for. So Paul, that's my takeaway from what we just heard, is that preparedness is the key, and insurance is an important element, but it is at the end of the process, not at the beginning. Paul, what else?
Jim, one other comment on that, Jim. Here's the key to that whole thing, what you just described. You have to know what right looks like. If you think ADT cameras and $15 guards and cheap cyber services like LifeLock are going to protect you in this environment we're in, you're crazy. Those days are coming to an end. If you've created a business or you've created wealth, we are way past that. We're way past cheap insurance. We're past the $15 guard. We're past LifeLock. You have to know what right looks like, and we've got to get out of this mentality of, well, this is an expenditure, I don't know the ROI. The ROI is we are securing human beings and infrastructure. So that's the mentality change that has to happen in corporate America and within families, is that you're not racing to the cheapest option because you're, to Ashley's point, you're going to get what you pay for here. So if you have a $15 guard and there's a protest and there's a real issue, is he trained in de-escalation? Is he gonna pull a weapon? Is he gonna put your family or business at risk? You've now got to think of, this isn't just, I checked the box, I'm protecting my firm or my family. You have to do the so what question. How do I get out of this?
And I think for so long, Ashley, every board wants to say, hey, by the way, do we have that cyber insurance stuff? Oh yeah, we got that check, done. And that's so superficial. And I think Dale is saying what's been accelerated in the last 6 months is that's exploded the lunacy of that issue. Paul, what else are you seeing there?
Like a partnership thing. Like it's like a partnership. It's like you need to have both sides of the balance sheet there. You need to have the traditional protection for things that might not be so emergent, and then you need to have your emergent response, which is what Dale and Dale are doing. So protection is about a lot of different pieces. And for me, what I do, Dale, is I work with ultra high net worth families too. And we provide all different sorts of resources. So whether it's investment consulting or advanced planning, wealth transfer, wealth protection, wealth enhancement, charitable giving.
And just a little commercial for you, Kathy. Let me give one more for you.
Okay.
You're not going to give to yourself. You become an expert in helping families with a special case situation, with families with people with disabilities. And I think that's laudable on your part. But think of all the things now that you addressed that you probably didn't early in your career. And I think Dale and Dale just laid out a plethora of new checklists that you have to go over and training that you have to bring your clients through.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to have all the answers for my clients, but what I do really, really well is I find the right people to help answer and I connect. So for me, I might not know all the latest security and safety issues, but I am darn going to be sure to check in with Dale, Ashley, the experts in their fields, and bring that to the table when I'm having conversations with clients.
That's great. Paul, I saw an interesting question come in about LastPass. And is that something we should all be using? And I'll turn that to the brothers Dale. Paul, I'll leave it to you for some of the other really good questions that have been coming in here.
Yeah, so thank you, Jim. And let's do just that. So one of the questions that came in was about how to think about password protection Folks are mentioning LastPass and some other stuff. Any tips from the Dales on how we should be thinking about taking a look at our passwords, where they sit, how we share them across family? Any other tips?
Oh, absolutely. I'll start off. Absolutely. Having a strong passwords is everything. Changing those passwords, having a frequency that you change that just like you have it on your monthly calendar to do anything else, and definitely not having the same password across all your platforms. That's by far what we've seen, that somebody uses the same, or they use the trick of trying to change the very end according to the platform they're using, maybe just the same password strength, but the different initials to the platform. The bad guys are tuned into this. So pretty much once they get one password on one, whether it's your banking, or it could be something as easy as exploiting your Netflix password. And most Americans, that is the same password across all their platforms. So
Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. So having strong passwords that are changed frequently. I know it's a hassle. And I know when I was in government, I'd have these 30 character long passwords that had to be changed with a great frequency, but that definitely is one of the biggest things. Just simple password.
What about dual authentication? I know if I go onto my my account with Kathy at Morgan Stanley, I'll get sent a one-time password to access the account that one time. Is that it makes me feel comfortable? Should I feel comfortable?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So dual authentication, change the password regularly. What about these password lockup programs like LastPass? Dale, do you recommend those?
Yeah, I do. We recommend them. We believe, you could Google this and find the top 5 in the country. They're all incredibly safe. Here's the question: how do you access them?
Yes.
What platform are you accessing, and do you trust that? But those platforms, we believe, are very valuable and very safe.
Good.
We've had an engaging dialogue in the chat. Maybe for sake of time, I can kind of summarize some of it, but it really gets down to is, a lot of questions around private security and how private security will be introduced, and the premise being that there will be more private security and more demand for private security. But Dale, I think Buckner, you picked up on this point is, $15, security guard is not going to cut it. So maybe a question for each of you: how should your clients think about private security? When's the right time to enact it? What's the right way to go about it? Maybe just a couple of tips that thread a little bit about what's the best way to think about private security. Yep.
I'll try and be brief. I know we're on time here. I'll reiterate something I said earlier. If you're going to travel internationally and you don't know how you're going to get out of Paris when the Paris attacks start, don't get on the airplane. If you don't know what you're going to do if you get hurt during the Turkey coup and get out, don't get on the airplane. Ask yourself very simple questions. If your son or daughter gets arrested in Greece on vacation, who are you calling? If you cannot answer these questions, figure that out. As you look at security of your home, your business, your vacation homes, the number one thing I see with folks that have created wealth, and we do this a lot, I think you have to ask yourself, what is in your name, and what can the world find out about you online? If I can Google and tie your plane number or your home or vacation address and figure out who you are, you need to sit with your general counsel or your lawyer, and you need to divorce all your assets. Everything about your life, if you've created wealth, needs to be separated from your name and your company so you are not exposed. This concept that we have people that have created wealth that they think they're running around the world quietly, it's no longer viable. I can take a photo of you coming out of customs and I'll know exactly who you are in 30 seconds, and it'll tell me everything about you with black market software. My point is, you've got to figure out how to protect yourself online, figure out how to protect your assets physically, and you've got to be able to answer the question, what if, when bad things happen when you're away from home?
Wow. Kathy?
Well, I may not sleep for days.
It only took us to minute 55. We've been scared along the way, as we knew we would. Kathy, are you seeing further sophistication required in where and how people hold assets to mitigate some of this risk?
Yeah, I mean, even when I think about my own firm, we have something called the vault, which is a way for clients and us to transfer information to each other. I had a client who was concerned about some security ID compromise, and I spoke to some of our security people at the firm, and it was eye-opening for me, in terms of they can actually, which I'm sure Dale and Dale will know very well, they can actually create a tunnel from me to you, like from my firm to you directly, where it's very safe. But if you add one more person to that link, then the tunnel breaks.
Wow.
So there's like all these little things that are so important. And we, it's while we were on those, the panel today, Morgan's, my firm sent out an email about cybersecurity and risk and protecting clients and information and firm. I mean, this is critical for everybody. So I think, you talk about the companies that are going to go do well going forward. Dale, like digital transformation and all of security and risk. That area is where I would want to, invest in. I think that's a really important area. And whether it's as an investor or as an individual who is not going to compromise my security and safety, whether I'm an ultra high net worth family or a business owner, you don't compromise. It's priceless, the value of having your business and personal, being safe.
And there's a wonderful story, Ashley, in Lower Manhattan, and sadly there was some looting going on, but of a camera store here in Lower Manhattan, and all the camera equipment was stolen. And the business owner came back to find the windows broken, the camera gone, but then a parade of neighbors carrying back the cameras that they in fact took in the looting to hold on to them and bring them back. I mean, wonderful story of community and neighborhood, but causing certainly that camera owner to rethink about insurance. I mean, we all look at it when the premiums come due and say, let's tweak it then. Is really now the time to start looking at what we have and maybe making some decisions now?
Yeah, I think it's important that, I get to work with like the Kathleens of the world because it's helpful, right? Kathleen knows the insureds better than I do. They know their business inside and out, high net worth clients. And a lot of times, she knows everything. So it's easier for me to get all of the information because a lot of times they're very astute, savvy, family offices. They're smart people, they're brilliant people, but they forget to say like, okay, I spend half the year in, to Dale's point, Guatemala or into Paris. And if we know those things, then we know to say, well, you need K&R, you need kidnap and ransom. And, you do need a global health insurance policy. And you do need to make sure that your excess policy is actually going to actually cover overall your underlying policies. So I think to that point, like, we really rely on our entrepreneurs and our, high net worth clients. We look to their advisors to help us navigate through like, okay, what part did they miss? Because it's just their life, right? So it's not, malicious. It's just, they're just living Monday through Friday.
Paul, I don't know about you, but my head is spinning. What a terrific discussion. Frightened again. I'll have to eat a lot of oatmeal for the next few days, but I think we just scratched the surface. And my thanks go out to Ashley from HM Risk Group. Kathy, always terrific to have you on. You have such a breadth. It's no wonder that your clients love you and love working with you because obviously you care and you serve them well. And Dale Brooks from Hawque Protection and Dale Buckner from Global Guardian, thank you. Thank you for shining a light on these important subjects, these important questions. And I think you gave us a roadmap for a whole series of things that we can do that will be beneficial to our community. Paul?
Here, and we'll definitely try to follow up with some content around this wonderful topic. And I agree, we can keep going. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for those that participated, all your engaging questions. And I think you're right, Jim. I think this is something that we're going to have to keep talking about as people get more and more knowledgeable about it. Hopefully, the environment causes us to let this fall a little bit back in our psyche. But while it's in the front of our psyche, let's do what we should be doing to make sure that we're keeping everything safe. So thank you all. We hope to see you in person sometime soon, but doing so safely. So thank you again.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.